I could consider myself an avid gamer. Though in the past 20 years, I mainly played on PC, I grew up with consoles, so using a controller has always felt natural to me. The first controller I ever touched was the 3-button Sega Genesis controller. It was extremely basic by today's standards, but for my 6-year-old self, it already felt like a lot to handle. Since then, I tried other game controllers like those for the NES, the SNES, and eventually the Sony PlayStation 1 and 2, with their iconic controller layout that is still used even today. All of these controllers had something in common. They were wired. And for many years, cables plugged into the console or PC were the norm. That only started to change around the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era, when wireless controllers became mainstream. Going wireless is undeniably convenient, especially if you play in the living room. There are no cables lying on the floor for people or pets to trip over, ruining both the controller and the console. Naturally, I also hopped on the wireless bandwagon. I bought wireless mice, wireless keyboards, and of course, wireless controllers, and I enjoyed using them. But much later on, I noticed that in the past decade, many wireless controllers sold on the market use battery packs that are either glued or soldered to the main board. Replacing them is difficult or even near impossible without risking damage to the controller.
That looks like a battery. Oh, God. So if you ever need to replace the battery on your controller, the solution is... that's how you replace the battery.
This is very different from older wireless controllers, like the cordless Rumble Pad 2 or the early Xbox One controllers, which let you swap batteries easily with removable packs or AA batteries. Battery lifespan has also gotten worse. Instead of lasting around 3 years before you notice a drop in capacity, many modern controllers begin to lose capacity before they reach 2 years. My turning point was my GameSir G4 Pro. I bought it about 3 years ago. By the second year, the maximum battery capacity had already dropped to about half. A few months later, it held even less charge, forcing me to use it plugged in. And since the controller wasn't designed to be used while plugged in, the USB-C port started to get worn out. Sometimes it connected, sometimes it didn't. And eventually, it stopped working entirely. If I had the technical skill to replace the damaged USB-C port, then the controller might still be alive today. But unfortunately, I don't. Then, I had an epiphany. My corded Rumble Pad 2, which I bought around 20 years ago, still works fine today. Sure, it has limitations of an older technology, but it's still alive and kicking. So if I want a controller that can survive for years, going wired is simply the logical thing to do. So I started to look for a modern wired controller. I wanted something with newer features like Hall effect analog sticks, and maybe an extra macro button or two. But finding one proved to be challenging. Most controllers on the market are wireless, and the wired models that are widely available in my country are usually cheap clones of the DualShock 2 or Xbox 360 controllers, though there are still a few higher quality options. After some searching, I stumbled upon the 8-bit DOE Ultimate 2C wired and decided to buy it. After using it for several months, I haven't had any complaints, and I'm quite happy with it. First, the USB-C port is recessed, which in theory gives the connector extra mechanical support, and hopefully that means the port will last longer. The controller itself is on the smaller side, but since I don't have big hands, it actually feels pretty comfortable. I also appreciate that it has no rubber coating. Rubber coating can get sticky and start to crumble after a few years, so it's nice knowing that I don't have to deal with that later. It does have a textured plastic shell though, which helps with grip a little bit. I mostly play on PC at my desk, so a wired controller is still very convenient for me. But once in a while, I move the PC to the living room for a family game night. And yes, the cable can indeed become a hassle. To be fair, the 8-bit DOE Ultimate 2C already comes with a 2-meter cable, but it's still not enough for me. I need to add a USB hub with a 1-meter cable just to make it less restrictive. That's why for those sessions, I still keep my old DualShock 3 controllers around, just in case. All things considered, I've grown to enjoy using wired controller again. I hope more companies keep making wired options, and if they insist on producing only wireless controllers, I wish they would at least bring back easily replaceable battery packs. But the trend seems to be going in the opposite direction. Even the recently launched 8-bit DOE Pro 3 comes with a built-in battery, which, in my humble opinion, is a step back from the Pro 2, since that one has replaceable packs, or you could even just put in regular AA batteries. Honestly, controllers don't need to be replaced every few years, but that wouldn't be great for business, would it?